Make it there. Hey, what's up, guys? Good evening. Happy Thursday here. Wanted to pop on for a few minutes, talk about the Ravens game, give you my 2 cents. Hope it helps as you're placing your bets, or if you just need something to listen to pass the time for the next couple hours. But I got a lot of thoughts about the Ravens tonight. I put my two prop bets out there for the over and receiving yards for Bateman and Flowers. My thoughts on this game will start with the Ravens when they have the ball on offense. Lamar's back, obviously, and everybody's healthy. Ricard's back. Great. But the matchup against the Dolphins is going to beg for them to throw the ball down the field, and it's going to have short, quick passes because the Dolphins' pass rush is going to be pretty good. They have some good players. They're going to be able to get after it. They drafted two young guys. They have Jalen Phillips. I just have a feeling that the Dolphins are going to come out tonight and do absolutely everything possible to frustrate Lamar and blitz him and exotic blitzes, things that are going to make the Ravens do some quick passes early. You're going to want to get Lamar in some rhythm. You're going to get him comfortable, and Bateman and Flowers have pretty good matchups on the outside, where the Dolphins' strength is. From my perspective, I really don't look at the stats too much. It's still a little early in the season for me to be like, oh, this team is 8th ranked this or 21st ranked that. Each game is its own game. When I get around Thanksgiving time, 12, 13 games into the season, I'm more comfortable looking at the stats. When I've watched the Dolphins, especially last week against the Falcons, I don't look at that as an anomaly. I look at it as the Dolphins are able to get off the line pretty good. The Falcons don't have a great offensive line. Either do the Ravens. So let's get the ball out quick. Let's get Lamar feeling good. And, eventually we'll get some shots down the field. I think that's where the Dolphins are vulnerable. What'll be interesting to see tonight is obviously the game plan, is obviously the play calling, because when everybody's healthy, right, the Ravens got a lot of mouths to feed. You got a lot of people that want the ball. And the Bills game, when everybody was healthy, the first game of the season, it was perfect. Everything was rolling. It was quick scores. Everybody felt good until the end of the game. Tonight's going to be really fascinating to see what Monken does. Everybody's begging for Keaton Mitchell to get on the field, and why not? Because every time he touches the ball, good things seem to happen. He only had 4 touches last week. You would think he would get more touches because he looks so good, but man, I don't know. Likely and Andrews are both healthy. So I went with the 2 receivers on the outside, Bateman and Flowers. Especially Flowers is 67.5 receiving yards. Just feels so, I hate to be overconfident, but he's always open. Feels like whether the game's a blowout or whether the Ravens are fighting from behind or it's a tight game, no matter what the scenario is, it feels like Flowers is going to get the ball. And Bateman's due for something here. So I got over 30, 32.5, I think, for Bateman and for Flowers. So when the Ravens have the ball, I think everybody's just super excited because the team's fully healthy. Lamar's back. Huntley looked great last week. Offensive line did a good job holding up. We'll see what happens tonight. And then on the flip side, that's where, you got to call a spade here. And what the Dolphins do well is they're going to attack the linebackers and the safeties right over the middle. They're going to try to get the running backs out in space and force Roquan and Buchanan and Simpson to guard. They're going to try to neutralize Hamilton's effectiveness by also having a quick passing game. When Tua has time and people are open, and he's accurate and they're home, we've seen them put up good numbers before. Obviously, without Tyreek Hill, it makes it a lot more challenging for the Dolphins. But when I look at the Ravens defense tonight, to me, it's all about number 0 in the middle. It's all about Roquan, because what the Dolphins do well is what the Ravens need to be better at. And they haven't been great at it ever since Roquan's been here. When he first got here, it was fantastic. And they went on the run, got all the way to the AFC Championship game, and they just fell short. But lately, it's been a lot to be desired right up the middle, where teams whether it was the Eagles last year, that game sticks out to me. Even the Rams, where they're just like, we're just going to run the ball up the middle. Ravens ended up winning that game. I think that was the Tylan Wallace punt return. But I just remember being like, man, they're just running the ball right up the gut at us. I like the fact that I saw Jenkins on the field with Travis Jones, both of them on the field at the same time last week. We just cannot let them run up the middle. That cannot be an option. The Ravens have got to do a good job of shoring up the middle. The Dolphins are going to have a tricky run game. They're going to have options. They're going to have fun little weird random things going on. It's got to be a bend but don't break situation. just like it was, frankly, last week against the Bears. Bears went up and down the field, both possessions to start the game, but they had to settle for 6. As long as you're holding them to field goals and then Lamar can put some points on the board, you would imagine that just like Caleb last week, too, will make a mistake or two in the second half when they're down by points. So ultimately, if you're betting on the game tonight, I would lean towards the under. It's hard to ever want to bet the under when Lamar's playing, but I think both teams are looking more ball control. Ravens are going to be a little more tight, trying to get Lamar comfortable. It's been a minute since he's been out there. And the Dolphins, look, if you're playing against the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson, you have to keep him off the field. So you have to think about the Dolphins are just going to ball control, quick passes, run. I just have a feeling it's going to be a shorter game. And when you're betting over, it's 50, 51 and a half. I would be careful about that. If you want to lay the 7.5, you can't do that. You have to only lay 7. Don't lay 7.5. There's no reason to do that. You buy the half a point. If you want to do it, it's up to you. My rule is not to bet on the Ravens one way or the other. It's interesting. It's an interesting spot. The Dolphins and the Ravens are both in the same mindset where they have to go on a run. The Dolphins get a couple home games in a row, and then they play the Commanders in, I think it's Germany, wherever they're playing. But they feel like, man, we get the Ravens at home here, and then I think they get the Bills at home next week, and then they can be right back in it. We're gonna get their best shot. Anthony Weaver, the defensive coordinator for the Dolphins, is the one thing that makes me think maybe the Dolphins have some. If there's an edge somewhere for the Dolphins when the Ravens have the ball, it would be the fact that Anthony Weaver is a really, really good defensive coordinator. Might get a job as a head coach. Could even get that job depending on how the season plays out in Miami. But they have a really good front seven. The Dolphins. Lamar just can't play around with the ball tonight. Can't have any fumbles, nothing silly. Even if it takes 4 quarters to finally put the game away, it might not be a blowout situation. So that's my thoughts on the game. A couple other random thoughts before I get out of here and get ready for the game is, the Blue Jays. I haven't talked about baseball here. It's been a few days, but, whatever is happening here in Toronto has to end. Like, I'm glad they had their run. I'm glad they got to celebrate. They're up 3-2. Yamamoto is going to shut them down tomorrow night, and then the Dodgers will win. That'll be my take. Finally, I'll give out the Dodgers for Game 6 and Game 7 because the series is weird, and I know the Blue Jays, when they lost the 18-inning game was a Game 3, kind of felt like, man, Ohtani's pitching the next game. It's like meant to be that the Dodgers are they're going to at least win that next game, and then they don't. And then I had a feeling the Blue Jays were going to win last night. It was just one of those situations where there's a lot of pressure on Blake Snell. Yeah, it's going to be the last time he pitches. And sure enough, he was tight. Blue Jays get the win. I do like the Dodgers tomorrow night. I want to see what happens with this Orioles coaching staff. That's for sure. Because I'm not going to kill the manager for things he can't control. But I'd like to see what the coaching staff looks like. They got rid of some of we'll call them lower tier hitting coaches. I don't know if they've made a decision as I'm recording this on the rest of the staff. I imagine the pitching coach, Drew French, will be back and Buck Britton will be back. The hitting coach was Cody Ash. Some of his subordinates are gone. It'll be interesting to see who exactly Mr. Albernaz brings on board, what his philosophy is. I don't know how much it really matters, to be completely honest, because we need our best players to play better. So we'll see. And that's that. And last thing is, if you care anything about these gambling scandals, this Shane Henning guy, if you don't remember, he was the guy that got popped right around the Super Bowl earlier this year. And now everything that's come out with Rozier and Chauncey Billups, it's amazing what's happening here. And, if you want to know more about it, I'd rather not just blab for 5, 10, 15, 30 minutes about it, and just recommend that if you really care, there's so much good media coming out about it. You might not find it in the scrolling universe. You might need 20, 30 minutes to sit there and read some different articles. But I watched Pablo Torre's podcast this morning, which shed light on a lot of things. But I've just been consuming so much information on this. And what it leads to, and the reason I'm bringing it up, is back to the number one reason that I started this company. in case anybody needs a reminder. If you're paying somebody for picks, you have to pay them after they win. You can't pay for picks ahead of time and expect anything but bad things to happen. These guys are all just bullshitting at the highest degree. And so if you really look at the background of these gambling scandals, you're like, who are these people? The NBA players, that's, salacious, that's fine, that's interesting. But to me, the real thing is, like, who are these other guys? Like, how do these schemes start? Who's really behind it? And what you find is part of the cover story is these goofballs pretend to be sports betting experts, and they're selling picks just like anybody else could sell picks online. And that's part of their cover story. And then when they're betting a game with inside information, they're giving out the opposite side to all the people that are buying their picks to help try to balance out where the line movement's going to go. So it's fascinating. If you want to know more about it, you're probably better off getting it directly instead of me trying to recap it all. But all right. Anyway, I think that's about it for tonight. I'll be here with J Mart tomorrow. J Mart's on fire. I'm not. We won't be selling his picks on the side, but probably should be. He's doing great. So if you want to pop on tomorrow, or if you have anything, feel free. And all right, good luck on whatever you're doing tonight. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.